we start with the big news that's actually transpiring as we are recording, Jim, AEW, let me pull this up right here, as part of the Warner Brother Discovery upfronts, here's the press release. TNT launches a second night of wrestling with AEW Collision, featuring headliners Thunder Rosa, Miro, Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Andrade El Idolo on Saturday, June 17th. So let me stop there. That's not even the press release. That's just the headline. What are your thoughts?
That's the headline, and that may be part of the headline. And no disrespect to any of the people mentioned, because we've said good things about pretty much all of them at some point or another. But Jesus H. Christ, who picks the names to be released in a headline? They're not names that have been used prominently on the programming that they already have. Miro's been in witness protection because he didn't like creative, is the best reason we've heard. Thunder Rosa has been injured for quite some time. So again, yes, she was at a high level in the women's division, but she's been off TV for 6 months or more. Hobbs, my God, yes, but he's over the past month been a flunky in a bad reality TV news show parody segment. Samoa Joe, I'm a huge fan of, and he's probably been booked the best of the bunch of the people that were just mentioned, and he hasn't exactly been setting the world on fire on their television. I don't understand how that becomes the lead here.
With these names, with a Thunder Rosa, Miro, Andrade, the rumor of CM Punk being involved.
Andrade, wait a minute, how? No, who was it? Was he the one that Tony said don't punch
Sammy, and then he went right
Sammy, and
right to Sammy and punched him. Yeah, as soon as he got to the building, he punched Sammy in the face.
So you get rewarded for punching a fucking guy by getting sent home, paid for well over 6 months, I believe it is, and then being announced as one of the stars of the new program.
But with these names and the rumor of CM Punk being involved and maybe some of the other names, do you think it's a missed opportunity to call it AEW Collision or Saturday Collision as opposed to Saturday Malcontent?
No, I think they need to be building up the collision when all the people that can't get along, they do a pay-per-view where they say, okay, now all of the people that really hate each other in our wrestling promotion are going to be on pay-per-view. They'll draw $100 million.
They've created their own island jail that they can send wrestlers to.
But wait a minute, we're burying the lead now. Please don't laugh anymore because you get me tickled because I'm slappy anyway. We've buried a lead and we just glossed right over it. It's allegedly CM Punk involved. Wouldn't this have been the time to turn allegedly into certainly with a press release from the network during the big upfront presentations to get people interested in new programs? Shouldn't they have had their feces accumulated well enough to have announced that the biggest star in the company will be the big star on the new program, if indeed that is what is going to take place in that environment?
Well, it could be one of two things. It could be one, AEW really does want to make it like the debut of Punk in AEW, not announce it, but everyone knows it'll be there on the debut of Collision. Or two, that there's some sort of issue still that isn't finalized with Punk and Tony Khan and AEW.
Yeah, and I'm inclined to think more of the latter than the former because, okay, assuming still that if they've booked the United Center, right, June 17th, for this debut of this now that is confirmed this live broadcast is going to take place on this network. And they have is this official or was this just rumor, scuttlebutt, and birds chirping? They've named it the Second Coming. Did I see that?
That is what I heard as well. I don't know how official it is or isn't. I got to double check that.
Okay, United Center, debut new show, Second Coming. What if it's like, when they get to the foot of the mountain, like they always do when the forecast of the Messiah returning takes place, and he just ain't there? What the fuck are they going to do then? Are they going to remember my old?
But he's in the parking lot handing out ice cream bars.
No. If he ain't there, remember I've said, if you take these 5 guys off the roster and save X dollars, will the fans set the seats on fire? I think the fans will set the seats on fire. And and besides that, it's not whether or not they can do that again. They can replicate that moment. They can get a pop again. They are now involved in a press release. They're in a favorable relationship with their network. But if anybody at the network actually was a regular viewer of the show or paid attention to the wrestling business and knew that those names were not exactly things that would send chills and shivers up strong men's spines, that high person up at the network might say, "Isn't CM Punk supposed to be involved in this? Why do we have this announcement? It was our upfronts. What is kayfabe? Don't we want to tell people who the stars of our shows are? They would not understand. How is this not done? Fuck."
And for the record, before we go with the press release here, the poster released with it, again, Saturday, June 17th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, the premiere. In the poster are the wrestlers we previously named, with several others. Some people are getting upset about one of the names in there, as I'm sure you will see and hear in a second, or feel in a second. But maybe it's just that they're putting all their champions in it, I don't know. But also in the poster...
Well, and now they will be on TNT.
TNT.
On Saturday nights. As opposed to Wednesday nights where they got the Dynamite. Who is on the poster now featured for the new Saturday night program?
Samoa Joe, Thunder Rosa, Powerhouse Hobbs, previously mentioned also, Miro, Andrade El Idolo, FTR, the House of Black, MJF, and Orange Cassidy. And Orange Cassidy and MJF are the two biggest in the artwork. Their heads are bigger than the entire torsos of everyone else.
My God, Nick Goulas has come back from the grave, and he's put George on the poster next to fucking Ric Flair.
Tony, here's one of Tony's biggest faults. Tony is insistent on finding a way, because he believes there is a way, to get Orange Cassidy over with the people that don't like him. Not to feature him for the people that like him. If he's on this show, this is all about Tony wanting to get people that don't like Orange Cassidy, forcing them. You will have to see this guy until you accept him. That's what it is.
And how is that show then going to look any different from the shit they do on Wednesday nights with that asshole all over it?
Different color ring ropes.
So let's talk about the other FTR. They couldn't make the fucking press release over Thunder Rosa or Andrade?
But again, that's why with FTR, MJF, and Orange Cassidy there, you wonder if it's just, and the House of Black technically too, you wonder if it's just they're putting the champions on there, minus the women's champions. And that's why they're there, because they would be on both shows technically as champions.
Well, good God, well then there's other champions.
And by the way, the logo for this show is, I shouldn't say identical, but it would be impossible to see this logo and not think of WCW Nitro. I don't know if you've seen this logo yet.
I have not, and honestly, I'd probably have to look at an old fucking magazine to remember the Nitro logo, because I didn't give a shit about that then either. But, and I just, again, if they're doing this with a strategy for a new television program that will feature a different presentation as on Wednesday night, a different style of matches, maybe a different announcer setup, or something with a different look and a different feel and a different vibe with different talent than on Wednesday night. If they have a plan for that and a separate sets and whatever the case, it seems that almost everybody that has been announced is for lack of a better term, not a fucking aggressive parkour artist or trampoline cowboy. So we might get some actual matches that made some sense. Obviously, MJF has to, because he is the world champion, and also because last time I checked, nobody is looking to punch him in the locker room, and nor is he looking to punch anybody else. So I believe he can travel about amongst the warring tribes and emerge unscathed, and he's the champion and also one of the best performers, so they got to have him on both shows.
That's an interesting thing, though, you just said. Do you think MJF should start a fight in the back just to keep up with the Joneses?
Well, no, I was going to say to not have to work an extra night of the week, if you mean. Is it what you, now a bunch of people are like, oh, fuck, now, we'll stay over here. We don't have to travel on the weekend, whatever. But anyway.
Tony, can I work Saturday? No, I'm sorry, you're booked for Wednesday. Fuck, where's Sammy so I can punch him?
There'll be a line in front of Sammy Guevara like the fucking on the plane on airplane. But anyway, if they have a plan for a different look, a different style, different presentation, with mostly different talent and the major people that you would want to see that would mean something for business can vacillate back and forth as long as they don't get on the wrong side of the romper room section, then that's one thing. But if they're going to do the same kind of shows, same thing with a lot of the same people in the same way on Saturday night as opposed to Wednesday, then what they're going to do, basically Wednesday we've said is a better night for television viewers because they're viewing because there's more people watching television. That's what the experts say these days. But Saturday night's a better night for selling fucking tickets to a live event. And especially if they're putting on a better live product, the Saturday night could dilute the Wednesday night live audiences, but they'll have, as Mama Cornette used to say, a longer row to hoe to catch up with the numbers of the Wednesday night audience because they've got a built-in disadvantage. But now it becomes, if there's no difference to this, if it doesn't have a more serious tone for people that don't want to see the guy stick his hands in his pockets and try to find his dick or play with his balls, then again, what backup do they have? Is Tony still going to be in charge of creative of a whole different group of people? Because now he's added an extra column of people to remind him of who can't be in the same building with the other person? But he's still going to write this whole thing, in which case the whole experiment may be fruitless anyway because he can't do anything different. Actually, everything he does is different. That's the problem. But so I still don't understand how this is a good idea based on having to keep your employees separate because they won't do what you tell them to do and they can't get along with each other. And you don't have the ability to just say, get along, get it on, or get the fuck out of here. Because they've now got, and a lot of people are not even thinking about this, their Rampage is still floating around out there. They got 5 hours of national cable television per week now. That, my God, any wrestling promotion in history would have killed for, including all the good ones. Who never got that?
It's a double-edged sword, though. Like, it's great to have all that TV time, but it's almost too much TV time, actually.
Well, here's where I'm going. That's the point I'm making. They've got 5 hours of TV time to fill in an entertaining way to get people to watch it and hopefully get bigger rights fees and blah, blah, blah. We'll all be free to pursue a life of religious freedom. And they're talking about splitting the roster up. Fuck, let's go into war and take half our guns, because over here, well, those people ain't really firing at us right now, but we'll leave half the guns over there anyway. What the fuck are you doing? Jesus H. Christ. And if Punk's deal ain't done, Tony ought to fire his fucking entire legal staff.
Bingo.
Starting with the one that is probably causing most people to be at full staff. So, because how do you do the network announcements? And how do you stop it? How do you do the network announcements? How do you book a fucking NBA building? And you still can't fucking officially say this guy's fucking name? And besides, and now to go to your last point, we can talk about this. 5 hours of AEW. 5 hours of WWE. That's without any other, I'm not even talking about any other promotions. I'm talking about any pay-per-views or Battle of the Belts or fucking Tribute to the Troops or Winged Ding Dong, whatever the fuck else they all do. Premium live events, Saudi Arabian nightmares. Just from those companies. What are people supposed to quit their jobs and like they're going to go live in a convent that plays wrestling 24 hours a day and devote their lives to keeping up with it? At some point, what the fuck? And it wasn't like this when they said, well, wrestling in the early or the 50s network craze was a victim of overexposure like boxing. Boxing may have been. Boxing wasn't particularly that fucking exciting and still ain't, except at the major level. But wrestling wasn't on, when it was on network TV every night of the week, it still wasn't on this much. And there were 30 million people watching these programs. What killed wrestling on the networks then was Dumont going out of business. And then everybody folding their tent and going home. But this is impossible for anybody but a fanatic in the worst way to keep up with. So by attrition, the first thing I'd do is say, you gave us Rampage as a make good for switching the network on us. Take Rampage back. You just gave us 2 more hours. Pay us big money for that. Take Rampage back. We don't want it. We don't want it. You can have it. It's no good for us. But how much can you watch, Brian? What is this going to do to our lives?
Well, we'll get to that at another point, but let's get to the announcement and then a few other things.
Forgot. We hadn't read anything yet, have we?
No, we haven't gotten there yet. So here's the official announcement of AEW Saturday Collision. New York, May 17th, 2023. TNT launches a second night of professional wrestling with a new tentpole series, AEW Collision, on Saturday, June 17th. It was announced today by Kathleen Finch, Chairman and Chief Content Officer, U.S. Networks Group, Warner Brothers Discovery, during the company's 2023 upfront presentation at Madison Square Garden in New York City. That was one sentence.
Wow, and I can already tell, I don't trust anybody with that amount of titles.
We should see Tony's list down here. This live 2-hour in-ring show will air every Saturday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time and feature more wrestlers, more stories, and more action to super serve fans. AEW Collision will feature headliners including Miro, Samoa Joe, Thunder Rosa, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Andrade El Idolo. In only 4 years...
How did FTR not even get in there if they're going to be on this thing, if they're on the poster?
Well, that's what makes me wonder if people on the poster are just there because they're the title holders, but then again, why are there no women unless there's not going to be... Well, Thunder Rosa's on the poster, so there are going to be women here.
There's 14 people and a woman.
In only 4 years following the launch of AEW Dynamite, AEW's footprint has more than doubled across TNT and TBS. Along with AEW Dynamite, Friday night's AEW Rampage, the recent follow doc AEW All Access,
a follow doc,
and now AEW Collision, TNT and TBS deliver the best matches and most entertaining moments in professional wrestling today.
You realize that this same network, almost 25 years ago, when they had 5 times the number of people watching these shows, couldn't wait to get rid of the fucking wrestling program.
AEW has reached 23 million total viewers so far this year across all its shows on TBS and TNT.
Wait a minute, goddamn! I think we've done that too. Add up. Do we get to add up our YouTube numbers and our podcast? I believe we've done that.
I don't know if they're counting their YouTube numbers in here, to be fair.
All right.
But here's a quote.
Well, we don't have a goddamn network TV show either.
Well, stay tuned. We're doubling down on wrestling with AEW Collision, which gives fans 2 more hours every week, said Jason Sarlanis, president of Turner Networks, ID, and HLN, linear, and streaming. Boy, everyone must hate their business cards nowadays.
Fuck!
Here's a back to the quote.
Sounds like a word vomit.
AEW's roster of talent has expanded so quickly that we felt it needed another night to bring our audience the epic rivalries, unforgettable matches, and stars they love to watch. Adding Collision to our programming mix on TNT will allow us to satisfy the massive demand
satisfy or sodomize?
Will allow us to satisfy the massive demand we've felt from our hardcore fan base and be the ultimate complement to AEW Dynamite on TBS. Any quotes on that so far? I have Tony comments here.
Go ahead, because I don't know what he just said to begin. Otherwise, then the roster has expanded. He should have said, well, there's so many people that don't like those fucking EVPs that we've got the biggest roster on Saturday nights that we've ever had. All right, go ahead.
With the addition of AEW Collision on TNT, I'm extremely proud that a Turner network will be the home of Saturday Night Wrestling for the first time in more than 2 decades, said Tony Khan, CEO, GM, and head of creative of AEW. The debut of Collision is significant across numerous sectors, including television, wrestling, entertainment, and sports, and reinforces AEW as the bold property we envisioned when we launched in 2019. Collision will deliver live every Saturday night more of what fans and viewers tell us they want. Athleticism, big personalities, exciting storylines, and hard-hitting wrestling action.
Yeah, they've been saying they want that on Wednesdays for 4 years now.
All of which have become synonymous with AEW. And that's really it here. Then it's just a little bit about AEW and a little bit about TNT. But AEW Collision coming to TNT, not TBS, but TNT on June 17th.
Again, we shall see if they're really serious about having a different roster and a different presentation and a different program, or if it's just an exercise in, massaging his EVP's private parts by sending the people that they're scared of to another television program. And then again, what about pay-per-view? Is it going to be like the old Georgia TV tapings during the promotional war when they had the NWA Georgia office guys come in and tape their show, and then they left, and then the All South guys came in and taped their show at the same place, but they wouldn't be together? What? I don't understand how that's even a thing. If you're trying to compete with a company that now is, I'm going to say this and I'm going to quit because it's a lost cause anyway, because he's not fucking listening, because he got his head up his ass. But if you're trying to even compete not to beat, but compete to stay alive against a company that now, with the WWE and the UFC and every goddamn Hollywood jangalang all working together in a $20 billion conglomerate, put all your fucking stars on the shows and push them all. And if they can't get along, get rid of the ones that can't. That's my statement.
Jim, an interesting thing about all this, and I was just looking into it online. I have something here that Mike Johnson just wrote. But what I was looking for is there's no announcement about money, and there's nothing about renewal. There's nothing about the rights fee. There's nothing about the future of the programming. It's just that there's a new show. Here's something Mike Johnson, a PW Insider, just wrote that I'm seeing because Meltzer Said What tweeted it. Perhaps even more interesting is that there was no media rights renewal announcement today. PWInsider.com is told by a source from Warner Brothers Discovery that there was never, ever a plan for either side to announce a new deal between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery. There had been rampant speculation online about a new deal between the two sides being worth as high as $1.5 billion.
What?
That was the rumor started on the Observer website on the message board by one of their guys.
No.
But beyond that speculation, there had never been any inkling from either AEW or Warner Brothers Discovery that a new rights agreement had been locked in, much less was going to be officially announced today. We are told there is no announcement expected today on that front.
But let's back up again. I'm just a small town bird lawyer, and I've been closed up just watching the local news about poor Denny Crumb's funeral. Somebody said they were going to give them a $1.5 billion for anything.
Apparently, there was a rumor started on the Wrestling Observer message board by one of their contributors. And this is the same guy, I believe, that said that he heard that CM Punk screwed over Adam Page a while ago. So obviously he has great sources. And he said that, or he alluded to, he wouldn't be surprised if it was something like this and people ran with it. And anyone who thought it was going to be anything like that is out of their mind.
He wouldn't be surprised. I bet he's the kind of guy who wouldn't be surprised if he woke up and there was a fucking dead horse's head in his fucking bed next to him. But
do you think there's any way that the Saturday show could even do Wednesday's numbers just because of the day of the week?
Well, again, that will be a challenge. If it's a better program and with stars that people want to see, then it will probably do even with eventually after it's established with, something on Wednesday night, because the handicap, although it could get hot, but we don't know anything about it, including whether or not apparently officially CM Punk's going to be a part of it. But again, there's nothing, and this is not even knocking AEW, but there's nothing going on here that anybody would ever pay them $1 billion for. I mean, especially now when the streaming services are starting to figure out that, we've kind of massively fucked up and paid a lot of people too much money. Like the early days, thankfully, I was able to be a part of the early days when they were acquiring libraries for the eventual launch of a network. They knew they wanted to buy all the libraries, the WWE. But then when they realized that they had paid a lot of money for a lot of stuff and a lot of it they weren't going to be doing anything with, they started lowballing people on footage and figures and et cetera. Same thing happened with streaming services. So no, it's not possible that there's anything right now that Warner Brothers Discovery would pay AEW $1 billion for. Could they, if they programmed their entire weekend, Friday evening through Monday morning, would they pay them $1 billion a year?
No.
Well, there you go. See, you heard it from Brian last, folks.
I mean, part of the thing with AEW is that it's, all things considered, it's really good, affordable programming. And it does get a good number in the key advertising demo, and you're not paying a lot for it. We hear like, they're getting all these millions and millions of dollars a year. In the general scheme of things, it's really inexpensive programming. So if you have people at the network who are willing to embrace it, that's all you need. Because wrestling will get numbers. The question will be what Saturday could bring as opposed to a Wednesday. Saturday from 8 to 10 is a lot different than Wednesday from 8 to 10.
From what I know about television production cost, and I admit I'm not auditing the AEW books, but from just eyeballing, from what I know about the wrestling business and television production cost and et cetera, and the things that go along with it, every time they do, with this new show, every time they do a week's worth of television in AEW now, they will be spending as much money as we used to run Smoky Mountain Wrestling lock, stock, and barrel for 4 years. And again, you can only expect so much from these rights fees going forward, especially if you can't show these people some kind of audience growth over a period of time. And they've got the people they've got, and that's all the people they've ever gone after. There's not enough about the AEW program that appeals to anybody who actually wants to see a fucking wrestling show with people that might be able to beat them up. I'm talking about the viewers. Why do you want to watch people fight that you're like, my God, he's 12? That's the problem. They've never tried. Maybe this new show has Miro and Hobbs. Except when Miro threatened to come all over me. Otherwise I've thought he was quite a massive monster until he got all romantic with me and everything.
That wasn't even your problem. It was more the pajamas and the Minnie Mouse or Mickey Mouse stuff.
The pajamas and the pink Minnie Mouse shirt. Yeah.
No, it was Mickey though. I think it wasn't Minnie. Even though the shirt was pink, it was Mickey.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's Minnie.
No, I think it was Mickey.
Well, you say Mickey, I say Minnie. Somebody will give us tweet us a freeze frame. But nevertheless, anyway.